Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Zoe and I'm so happy that you clicked on today's video. Okay, so welcome to the other half of the videos that I'm making for my best and least. My favorite and least favorite books of 2023. Today's video, as you can tell from the title, is going to be my list of least favorite books. And tell me why I'm like actually kind of excited to do this video. I feel like it's not excitement in a way to like bash authors. It's just that I have some thoughts about some books that I read last year. I read 113 books, and some of them were absolutely amazing. I love them so much, incredible new favorites, but some of them just did not hit the mark. So today's list is not really gonna be in order except for my top 3, I believe, maybe top 5. But the rest of them are kind of just there. Not all of them are like, I hated this book, but it's all just my least favorites of the year. And I feel like I should do a little disclaimer just to say this video is not to bash authors or to bash your favorite books if some of these are your favorites. Obviously everybody has different reading tastes, and that's the beauty of being a reader, is we all enjoy different things. I'm just here having some fun, just talking about the books that I didn't like, and just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you won't, so don't be afraid to still give these books a shot. But I just wanted to say this is all just in good fun. So let's get into my least favorite books of the year. We're gonna start at, you know, the bottom of the list, the random part, and we're gonna end the video with my bottom 3 of the year. So let's do it. Starting at 23, I guess, we're gonna start with one that honestly breaks my heart that I didn't love. We have The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This was Abby Jimenez's first book that she published, but it was technically the second book that she wrote. And this one just did not work for me. I felt very frustrated by a lot of what happened. Don't get me wrong, it was her, you know, usual amazing writing style. I loved our characters and everything, but there were some things that happened in this book that were absolutely not necessary in any way, shape, or form, and it made me angry. Like, I felt actual anger. I went on a rant about this book after finishing it to my sister for like 30 minutes, just talking about how frustrated I was with how the author made things go, the direction she took everything in, because I felt like this book could have been amazing, and she made some poor decisions, in my opinion, that just made it a very not likable book, and it just made me sad. Next, at 22, we have Five Survive by Holly Jackson. This one was honestly kind of sad because I loved A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and this was Holly Jackson's, I think, first standalone book. It wasn't part of a series, and it was just about these kids going on a spring break trip. They took a motorhome and it broke down, but it turns out that it broke down on purpose because they were being held hostage because one of them had a secret and the person would not let them go until the person confessed. And so you kind of spend the whole time with a very unreliable narrator trying to figure out who the person is, what the secret is. And my problem with this one, I think, is just because I've read so many thriller books that it felt very unexciting and unoriginal to me. I guessed who the person was and like what was going on pretty early on in the book. It was too early for me to have it figured out, and I feel like it just made the rest of it not that fun. But I think if you're somebody who doesn't read thrillers a lot, you would probably really enjoy it. Next, we have one that I actually own. The bright side about these books is I only own 10 of them, so I own less than half, which is great. It means that mostly the books I was buying were books that I enjoyed. But we have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I feel like this is going to be so controversial because this book is so well loved, so popular, and I wanted to love it. Trust me, I wanted to love it so bad, and I was so excited to read it. And don't get me wrong, I thought it was a beautiful story. I thought it was really, really great about teaching you some good life lessons and making you really think about where you're at and where you want to be. But something about it, I just felt bored and not connected, and I think maybe it was just so hyped up that it fell flat for me because I just didn't care that much. I feel like there are other books out there that do the exact same thing this one does that are better. It was just not what I was hoping it would be, I guess. Next, we have one that I, again, really wanted to love. I was so excited about this book, and I read it for Valentine's Day. I specifically saved it for months to read on Valentine's Day and didn't love. So we have Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. Look at this cover. Like, tell me that's not the cutest cover. This was a case of the cover was cute, so I bought it. Definitely judging a book by its cover. This has some things that I love. It had past and present timelines. It had a celebrity romance. It was like all the things in a romance that you would think I would absolutely be obsessed with, but something about it just really didn't work for me. I felt very bored and I didn't feel connected to the characters. It was kind of one of those situations where I was like, anything could happen and I just wouldn't care. Next we have one that was an arc. I read this early on in the year and I was so excited for it, but honestly I don't know why, because the other book I read by this author I was not a fan of, so let me tell you what it was. We have Begin Again by Emma Lord. I read Tweet Cute back in 2022 and was very just like not into it and really thought it was like cheesy, not my thing. I think I was just aged out of the target audience. But I got an arc for Begin Again and I thought this one sounded better because it was set at a college. It kind of is coming of age, following this girl in her mom's footsteps, and I thought it was going to be really good, but this was a struggle to get through. Like, took me so long. I just felt so bored the whole time, and I think if I had read it more quickly I might have liked it more, but I just physically could not read it more quickly. I just was so bored. I wanted to love it. Like, I thought the romance was kind of cute, but I had some issues with it, and I thought the part with like our main character and her mom, like her mom's legacy, was really cool, but it was just such a small part of the book that it did not make the rest of it worth it. Next we have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I was so excited for this one because I loved In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, one of my favorite books of 2022. So I thought, I'm gonna love this author. Everything she, you know, writes is gonna be an auto buy for me. Like, I'm gonna love them. But this was not the case. This was another one that kind of took place at a college, which I like. But where my issue with this one was kind of like the topic that it centered around. I don't want to say anything because I feel like it would definitely be a spoiler. It just made me sad because I felt like the women in this book were really not valued. I did not like how they were treated, and it was just like very toxic in my opinion. So not a big fan. I thought there were a lot of good twists and turns, but like the story just didn't work for me. I just felt sad. I felt sad for our female characters in this book. And I feel like this could be a very out there opinion. I feel like everybody could have very different ones, but that's just how I felt about it, unfortunately, and it was just weird. It just was really weird vibes on top of everything. The next one we have is Maybe Not by Colleen Hoover. I know some people would be like, Colleen Hoover immediately. No. For me, I like Colleen Hoover. I like the majority of her books that I've read, but this one was a novella in the Maybe Someday series, and I just had an issue with this one because it was not very long and I really loved who it was about. The two characters that this one is about are side characters in the other books, and I love them so much and I think they're so cute and funny, but this book was like just straight up spicy scenes. That's all it was. And not that I'm like super against spice, but I also like, I'm not just trying to sit down and read a book that's entirely that, and that's what this was. So I just felt underwhelmed by it because I wanted to get more of like the emotional side of the characters, which you did get a little bit of in this novella, but not as much as I was hoping for. I would have preferred more exploring their relationship and who they are to each other and to themselves, and less of the spice. Next we have The Reunion by Kayla Olson. I was so excited to read this one because it was a book of the month pick, and it was about people in TV and films and like that industry, which is very interesting to me. I love reading about that kind of stuff, and I read this one for a romance reading vlog, and I feel like it fit the reading vlog very well, but it was just not my cup of tea. I felt very bored with it, very just like, it was just very meh. It wasn't like a book where I'm like, oh, I hated that, like wish I'd never read it, but it was just like very underwhelming and not worth my time when there are so many books in the world that I want to read. Like, this one was just not worth it, and it was only like 300 pages and I just felt like it was 500. Like, it felt very long because I was just not enjoying it. Next we have one that makes me literally so sad that it's in this video. We have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, which I have wanted to read for a couple years now. Why I hadn't yet, couldn't tell you, because I was in a very big thriller phase for a while, but I just never got around to it. Finally got it from the library and was so disappointed because I've heard, you know, such good things about this book. It is so hyped up, so highly rated, and I didn't like it. I felt like it was really boring, very just like mid, and there were so many plot holes in it that I just felt like it didn't even make sense. Like, so many loose ends at the end of the story that were not tied up that I'm still wondering about. I made my mom read it after me and she agreed. Like, it just was very upsetting that the author like just kind of let so many things go and never gave you answers. So unfortunately I just didn't like it because of all that. It was really upsetting. I want to know what happened. Next we have another one that I'm sad that's on this list because it is one of my favorite authors. We have The Angel Maker by Alex North. And I was so excited to read this. I got it from the library literally the day that it came out. Like, my library got it, I instantly had it in my hands, and I was so excited because Alex North writes these really good like horror novels mixed with like crime and like detectives, and I love his other books, but this one really fell flat. Not because it was like not interesting, but because it was so confusing. I just had no idea what was going on the entire time. And I've said this, I think I said this in my review, maybe this was just the case of me not being smart enough to understand what he was saying. Maybe I was not like the target audience for this thing. But like, I'm not a dumb person. Like, I feel like I'm intelligent, and I just had no understanding. That sounds so stuck up and conceited. I'm so sorry. But like, I feel like it just, I don't know why I didn't understand what was going on, and it just felt frustrating that I was so confused. So that's all I really have to say about that one. It was just disappointing because I had no idea what was going on the entire time. Oh boy, next we have one that I could talk your ear off about. This is another one that I really have thoughts about. And I've talked to people about this. I'm passionate about how I feel about this book. We have Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. No, this was my book of the month pick whenever it came out, April. Yeah, April. And I read it, and I thought it was gonna be so good. The cover's so cute, it sounded so good. It's literally about this fictionalized version of SNL, and this celebrity goes on it. He's the music guest and the host for that week, and he ends up kind of like having a thing with one of the writers, like kind of liking her, and they have like a little budding romance. And then they don't talk for a few years, and then the pandemic happens, and then they start talking again, and then suddenly in the middle of lockdown, she's driving to his house to stay with him, and I was just so bored. And also, I don't want to read about COVID, and I knew going into it that it was going to be about COVID. Obviously, I read what this book was about, but it started off so well. Honestly, the author's writing was never my thing. I was not a big fan of it. I found it to be pretty hard to read, and it was very slow going, but I was intrigued by the SNL stuff, like the Night Owls, I think is what it's called in this book. I was really interested in that because I love SNL. I love reading like the memoirs from the cast. So I loved reading kind of like behind the scenes stuff from SNL, but after that it was just like I didn't care. And I could sit here and talk your ear off about it, all the reasons why, but I also don't want to make this video forever long. I'm just gonna leave it at I didn't care, didn't like them, the writing was so boring, and I wish we could have just had a whole book of them being at SNL and none of the other stuff, because then I feel like maybe it would have been like a 3 stars instead of like a 1. Sorry. Okay, apparently we're only at number 12, so I'm gonna speed this up a little bit. The next one we have was another very disappointing one. We have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. If you know me, I loved Every Summer After because I love the trope, like the story that is Every Summer After, Love in Other Words, The Two of Us, etc. Like I've said it so many times. I'm not gonna sit here and give you my spiel right now, but this one I was so looking forward to because Carly Fortune's debut was so good. But this one was like the complete opposite, and unfortunately I'm not alone in this feeling. It was just not very good. I didn't really care, and I had a lot of issues with some of the tropes in this book. Like, I know Carly Fortune includes really questionable tropes in her books, but with Every Summer After I was kind of able to look past it and still enjoy the book. That was not the case with this one. I was just really angry. So there was that, and I also just didn't care. The one good thing about this book is the cover, because she is stunning, and if I'm gonna be honest with you, I will still buy Carly Fortune's next book because the cover is stunning, it'll look pretty on my shelf with the other two, and because I loved Every Summer After so much that maybe this one was just a dud, but this one was a dud. Next up I have one that like I kind of feel weird including in the video, but like I had a few books that I couldn't choose between, and this was just the one that I grabbed first. So we have The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. This was not a bad book, and I feel weird including like a holiday themed book because like it's just supposed to be cheesy and fun, like it's like supposed to be like a Hallmark movie. But like this one was just very not memorable for me. I feel like it took me like 3 weeks to get through, which is crazy because it's less than 300 pages. And like it was cute and I really liked the romance in it, but like it was just underwhelming. And these are just really not my favorite thing, unfortunately. But I did still enjoy it. It was like a 3-star for me, but it was just not a favorite. Next we have one that kind of hurts my heart to include in this video. We have What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walther. This is the same author who wrote The Summer of Broken Rules, which is one of my favorite books of all time. It is so special to me. I think about it all the time. I love it so much. This book was not that. This one was kind of more like adventurous, and there's like a second chance romance element to it, and it's like cute and fun, but it also just like fell flat. I felt like there was too much of the adventure scavenger hunt part and not enough of the romance, which I feel like this one was marketed as a YA romance, so I felt kind of like underwhelmed by that because I wanted to see more of what happened between our characters. And also this one as well, there were some plot holes. Like there were some things that never got tied up and left me wondering, and I'm still wondering about some of the things because it's like, you can't just leave me hanging like that. So it was cute and fun. Again, not a bad book at all, which is very, very mid because there were some things that just did not meet my expectations. Next, we have one that I think is going to be really controversial. We have Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This was my second Ali Hazelwood book. I read The Love Hypothesis and then like immediately read this one, and The Love Hypothesis was fun. And this one I was like excited for because it sounded really cute and everybody was loving it, and I just didn't. I thought this was not good. This one took me ages to get through, like could barely even get myself to pick up the book and read it. And I just didn't care about our main characters. I felt like their romance was like not that interesting or that cute. I was just not connected, and I could sit here and talk about it for a while, but like I feel like I'm just gonna leave it at that. I just was unfortunately very unconnected to the story and to the characters, and I just simply did not care, sadly. Next, we have another one that I wanted to love and I didn't. We have Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan? I don't know how you say it, but this one was everything that I love. Like if you look in a dictionary and you look at books that Zoe loves, again, it's going to be that childhood friends to lovers, they split up and then fall in love years later when they reconnect. It's gonna be Every Summer After, Love in Other Words, the two of us. And it should be Same Time Next Summer, but it was not, because I'm so used to these books being so good, blowing me away, making me sob, loving them so much. And this one I just felt like it kind of dragged on a little bit. I really did like our male main character, kind of like obsessed with him a little bit. But this one just did not meet the expectations. It did not live up to all the other books that are similar to this one, so I felt like it was the worst one of all of them that I've read. So it just kind of fell into my least favorites, because even if it's a thing that I love so much, when I'm comparing it to all these other books that are amazing, one of them has to come in last, and this one unfortunately did. So next we have Unnecessary Drama by Nina Kenwood. This one I wanted to love. It's basically this YA book about these high school enemies who end up living in the same apartment together at college unexpectedly, and then they kind of have to deal with living with each other, and then they fake date, and it's kind of just the whole book is them going from being enemies to friends to lovers. And like, I should love that because I love that trope, but like it was just boring. It's like just over 300 pages, but it felt like it dragged on. Like this took me over 2 months to read. I spent the whole summer reading this book, which is wild. There was some good mental health rep in it, and I thought the romance was sweet, but like the romance was barely there. It was like the last 5 pages, which was upsetting. But it was just not for me, I think. Next we have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This was my first Tessa Bailey book, and I just didn't really know that I would care that much, but I heard this one was basically like Schitt's Creek, but a romance book, and I was like, cute, like I'll give it a shot. So I did for the summer, and I was just like, not really, I don't care. I feel like in the moment when I finished it, I was like, that was so cute, I loved it. And now I'm like, I forgot I even read it, and I don't think I'll read another Tessa Bailey book if I'm being completely honest. The spice was so cringy. Like I literally was giggling reading it because it was so bad. Just no. Which I feel like was a big factor into what I didn't like about it, because if you're gonna write that much spice, I feel like it should at least be good. You know what I'm saying? So it was just not really, it was very underwhelming for me, that's all. I thought the romance was like kind of cute, like kind of rooted for them, kind of loved it, but like also didn't. Next we have one that like I feel bad putting on this list, but it was another case of didn't hate it, just didn't love it. We have The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This was cute. I love a bodyguard romance. I love a closed door romance. And this one was really cute just because like it was a very like cozy, comfy, like country type of setting, and I really enjoyed that part about it. And I liked like in this book, like our male main character is like a total mama's boy, and like it was just really cute and fun. But like I didn't feel super connected, didn't really care, and kind of forgot about it right after reading it, which was sad because I've heard such good things about it. But like I literally just forgot that I read it. So That's all I can say about it. Next I have, this is number 4, we have A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. I feel so bad even including this in the video, but I'm just gonna be honest. I have wanted to read this series for years. Like, it's been on my list for so long. I was so excited to read it, and I finally did. And here's my thing. I thought the series was interesting. Like, the story was so good. It was the writing that didn't work for me. Like, something about V.E. Schwab's writing in these put me to sleep. Like, I would read 5 pages and be like, either I wasn't paying attention or I literally was dozing off, which is weird because I adore The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, one of my favorite books. So you would think I would like the writing in this, but I just didn't. And because I love the story so much, that was really disappointing. But this 3rd book was the worst as far as getting through it. It was a headache. I had to wait several months after finishing the 2nd one just to give this one a shot. And I did finish it, and I'm proud of myself for it, but I sadly did not love it. I think for these books, I would much more appreciate them and enjoy them in like a movie or TV show format, because I, again, love the story. It was just the writing that didn't work, so I think I would enjoy watching it for once, which is weird because normally it's the opposite, but I think that would work better for me. And coming down to the worst 3 books that I read this year, we're gonna start at number 3. We have The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. This one I listened to as an audiobook earlier in the year, and this was my first book by her. I heard really mixed things about it going into it, but I thought it'd be cute because like the cover is like romance but like baseball, which I love, and I just thought it'd be fun. But it wasn't. I was so bored, did not care about the characters. I felt like the whole time it had you building up kind of like this nervous suspense feeling about like something bad was gonna happen to one of the main characters, just for literally nothing to happen, which is like great. Like, I don't want to wish anything bad on our characters, but like at the same time, like, why did you make us so nervous the whole book just for nothing to happen? And I just really didn't vibe with it. I felt like it was just so pointless, which was sad. So next up is going to be a very controversial one. This is my 2nd least favorite book of the year. And the fact that this is coming in 2nd is actually mind-blowing because I hated this book so much that means the number 1 is really bad. But we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. If you've kept up with me, you would know that I did not enjoy this book. Honestly, I don't see what there was to like about it. Weirdly, I thought that the first third was really good, and everybody told me that the first third was incredibly boring, just world building, you would hate it. But no, I really enjoyed it. It was from then on, like page 250 and then after, that I just hated it and I could not get through it. I did not care about any of the adventure or what they were doing, and I was just so confused by the end. I was just like, this is pointless, and I didn't like it. And I'm honestly shocked that I even continued the series. And I just don't see why this is everybody's favorite. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. Like, I just genuinely cannot understand that. So, yeah. And coming in at number 1, whew, I actually cannot believe that a book beat A Court of Mist and Fury. And this one was a 1-star read, simply for the sake of the fact that Goodreads does not let you give less than a star. We have Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, I don't know. No. The thing is, I read this right when it came out, which I was not planning on doing. I was not the biggest Fourth Wing fan, and I was like, I'll get to Iron Flame when I get to it, but instead I just randomly decided to read it right when it came out. And I honestly wish I hadn't, because then I would have seen everybody's reviews and not put myself through that pain. I genuinely hated this book. It was so boring the entire way through. Like, this book, it's long. It's like over 600 pages. I saw these TikToks that said, the reason you feel like it's so long is because Crescent City, an over 800 page book, is longer, but it's actually not, because the font in this book is so small that this is 50,000 words longer than Crescent City. But it makes you think it's not because it's only 600 something pages. Are you kidding? Like, why is that even? This book was so long, and for what? For what? Like, literally no reason. It's so actually like infuriating to me that I put myself through reading this whole book, but it's because I'm stubborn and I don't DNF things. But I think this was what made me realize I should start DNFing, because it was so bad. The end was supposed to rip my heart out. It was supposed to be so sad. Did not care. I'm so sorry. There was a character death. Did I care? Not one bit. The end, the plot twist at the end, supposed to be shocking. Did I care? No, no ma'am. No, I didn't. So, hated. I'm so sorry if you liked it. I feel like the majority of people did not. I think this book is fast fashion. I think this book was cranked out in a few months after Fourth Wing, just because she not to be rude, because we love Rebecca, like she seems like a great person, but like she got this unexpected fame from Fourth Wing. It sold really well and she was like, oh, I gotta, you know, take advantage of this while I can, put out another book. And she, instead of taking the time to write it and make it a well-written book and an actually good book, just put it out to keep the excitement going, I think. And look at how that turned out. I think it was a mistake. I think if she had taken more time, it could have been a good book, but unfortunately it just failed. So I'm so sorry. That was incredibly harsh. So those are my 23 least favorite books of the year. I feel like this was such a long video, but as I said, I have thoughts, okay? I needed to tell you everything I thought. Again, not bashing any of these authors. I'm sure they're all doing their best. It's honestly incredible that they have books out. Like, the fact that any of these people are authors is amazing in its own right. It's just that these books did not work for me, and that's okay. So that's where we're at. Thank you so much for watching. If you felt the same way about any of these books, I would love to hear about it, just so that I feel less alone, because I definitely feel like maybe I am pushing some people's buttons with some of these opinions. But with that being said, if you want to like, comment, and subscribe, feel free. That would help me so much. And if you want to be friends, all of my socials will be linked down below as always. That was this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.